The Dodgers lose Game 3, 8-3 to the Nationals. That means they must go to a Game 4. Bill Plaschke, Lindsey Theory, Dylan Hernandez, and Pedro Mora. So the question has to be, do you pitch Clayton Kershaw in Game 4, or do you hope you win that game and save your ace for Game 5 in Washington, D.C.? Bill, what do? You
pitch Clayton Kershaw. You have the best pitcher on the planet. He's not going to be in the dugout for the elimination game of this team. They thought about pitching Julio Urias, a 20-year-old rookie. They thought, well, if they lose today, which they did, they have to win 2 games anyway. Why not pitch Urias at home and then pitch Kershaw on the road where, Julio's more comfortable at home? But no. You got to win now. You got to have Kershaw. He's on short rest, but in the past 3 postseasons, he's pitched each postseason on short rest once, 1.89 ERA, 23 strikeouts, 4 walks. He's been up to the task. He's got to do it tomorrow.
Bill just looked up those stats, memorized them, and spit them out correctly. Dylan, what do? Kershaw Game 4 or Kershaw Game 5?
You have to go in Game 4. The starting Urias scenario, that's a smart thing to do. But it just won't play politically in that clubhouse. Clayton Kershaw is a very popular player, a very respected player in that clubhouse. He's going to want to pitch. If he doesn't, he's going to be angry. Then next thing you know, you're going to start losing guys like Chase Utley, and that starts affecting Corey Seager. And when you show up to spring training next year and they talk about, hey, we're all in to win this, that game could be thrown back at them. Well, what happened in that game? Why didn't you give us our guy, in an elimination game? So I think, politically, they have to go with Kershaw.
Pedro, are you going to be a contrarian, or do you go with Kershaw in Game 4?
I have to go with Kershaw in Game 4, but I have a different reason, I think, than the other two mentioned. I think that the chief reason is if you start Urias and he can't get you through 5 innings, you have really no backup option whatsoever. They've burned through so much of their bullpen these last 2 games, and because of the way the schedule was oriented, that they don't have a long relief option. Ross Stripling appears to be unavailable, and I really have no idea what they would do if he had to come out of the game in the 3rd or 4th inning, or even earlier. I mean, that could totally happen with a 20-year-old rookie. So, Kershaw is, even though he'll be on short rest, there's a much higher guarantee there. He's not going to totally implode. He's going to get you through 4 or 5 or probably 6 innings, right? And then beyond that, you can piece it through. If you start Urias, you really have no idea, and now he's available maybe as a relief option for Kershaw too.
So Game 5, what do you do, though, for Game 5? They win Game 4, you go back to Washington, D.C. Do you put a 20-year-old kid out on the mound in Game 5?
No, I think if it's Game 5, you'll probably start Rich Hill for a couple innings and bring in Urias. I think the amazing thing about this is fans have to realize the whole theme of this Dodger season has been it's not about one player. They've used over a Major League record like 58 players or whatever. Even Kershaw said this week, I don't feel the pressure now because I can be a factor, but not the factor. It's not all about me.
Player.
And now, turns out, it's all wrong. Yeah. It is all about Clayton Kershaw.
Game 5, what do you do? Who do you put out on the mound if they get past Game 4?
I might go with the kid. I mean,
really?
Honestly,
Come on, Dylan.
He loves the kid. You love the kid.
You can't go with the kid.
I love the kid.
Game 5 of the postseason.
And also, just out of
Dylan, that's insane.
Hey, sports are entertainment, and ultimately, I kind of want to see how this kid reacts. And
if that's what you think.
And here's the other thing too.
Don't go with the kid.
The pitching is kind of a secondary issue at this point. They can't hit. Up here right now, and you guys can't smell through TV, but it stinks up here. And I'm wondering, is that the garbage back there, or was that the Dodgers offense?
I think that's your idea that you throw a 20-year-old in Game 5. Pedro, what do you do in Game 5?
I think you go an inning at a time through your entire pitching staff. In Game 5, they'll have the benefit of a day of rest in between, and every single guy in their bullpen will be available. So you go, maybe you start Hill for 2 innings, you go to Urias for a couple innings. You just do whatever the heck you need to do to get through it. Kershaw could throw an inning in relief on his bullpen day. You could do any possible thing you need to win the game.
You throw everything but the kitchen sink, or the kitchen sink also?
Let me go back to the kid real quick. I was talking to Scott Boras earlier today.
Of course you were.
Yeah. And I was talking to Boras, and I said, we've seen a lot of young, talented pitchers come up here and get thrown on that stage. We saw with Kenta Maeda today, and a lot of times they freeze. You don't know how they're going to react until they're actually out there. Boras says, I know, and he does this and says he's got ice in his veins.
That's what D'Angelo Russell did. That's what D'Angelo Russell did that. You know what, though? The theme of this all is, let's face it, Dodger fans, the more things change, the more they stay the same. We're in the same position we were for the last 3 postseasons. The season on the line and Kershaw on the mound and no help. Same thing. Hadn't changed.
Finally, before we go for the evening, because it's been a very long 24 hours, Bill, we were in the clubhouse when Clayton Kershaw emerged. He smiled, but he would reveal nothing. That smile tells us that he is
going to be the starting pitcher that they've already told him. In a meeting with Farhan Zaidi earlier, they told him that. Dylan spied on the meeting and saw him coming out. Right, Dylan? Did you eavesdrop on them?
No, I just saw.
Dylan, you're being a good reporter.
I turned around and I just happened to see them come out.
Okay. So he saw, Dylan confirmed it for me that I put in my column. I didn't give him credit for it. I'll give him credit now. He confirmed for me that, indeed, Clayton Kershaw is the starter for tomorrow's game.
All right, it's Monday night. We're out of here at Dodger Stadium. We'll be back here Tuesday. Game 4, where everyone here thinks it's going to be Clayton Kershaw.